Bibles, we'll go to the first book of Kings and start there in our series tonight on mountains and valleys. Did you hear that song, out of the hills and of the valleys? I'm glad he's there. Amen? Amen. So I hope that you took a moment to read this afternoon and prepare yourself for tonight. I hope you took a moment to pray for this preacher. I don't know how good this voice is going to do. We'll preach until we can't talk anymore, and we'll go home. Amen. Amen. So if you found your place in 1 Kings 18, let's stand and read the Word of God together. We'll start in verse number 30. I think some part of it is I believe I've been poisoned. I went to the sound booth because I know we usually keep cough drops back there. And I thought it was green, and it was red, it's cherry, and I thought,
When it gets free in my cough drop.
So I think that's some of the added on problems I'm having. All right. All right. Let's start in verse 30. We'll read to the end of the chapter, verse 46. We're going to come back and share some wonderful things in the contents of this text tonight. And I pray that it'll be a help to you. Just pray for us, and we'll do our very best to preach as fast as we can, and we'll preach as best as we can, and then we'll go to the house. All right. Verse 30. Elijah said unto all the people, "Come near unto me." And all the people came near unto him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. And Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the son of Jacob, unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord. And he made a trench about the altar, and as great as would contain 2 measures of seed. And he put the wood in order, and cut the bullock in pieces, and laid him on the wood, and said, Fill 4 barrels with water, and pour it on the burnt sacrifice, and on the wood. And he did, and he said, Do it the second time. And they did it the second time. And he said, Do it the third time, and they did it the third time. And the water ran down the altar, and he filled the trench also with water. And it came to pass at the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice, that Elijah the prophet came near and said, Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and of Israel, let it be known this day that thou art God in Israel, and that I am thy servant, and that I have done all these things at thy word. Hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God, and that thou hast turned their heart back again. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt sacrifice, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, The Lord, He is the God. The Lord, He is the God. And Elijah said unto them, Take the prophets of Baal, let none of them escape. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon, and slew them there. And Elijah said unto Ahab, Get thee up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of abundance of rain. And Ahab went up and to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he cast himself down upon the earth, and put his face between his knees, and said to his servant, Go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked, and said, There is nothing. And he said, Go again 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time that he said, Behold, there ariseth a little cloud out of the sea, like a man's hand. He said, Go up, say unto Ahab, Prepare thy chariot, and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. And it came to pass in the meanwhile that the heavens was black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel. And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. All right, let's pray. Lord, we love you, and again, thank you for the time, place, and opportunity you've given to us to be in church. Thank you for these that are faithful coming to the house of God one more time. Lord, I pray that you hide me behind the cross of Calvary tonight. Lord, I pray that you just use me and have me here behind the sacred desk to do my very best for you, God. I pray you forgive me where I failed you. Clothe me in the anointing of your Spirit tonight, Lord, that we can do the things, say the things, and express the things that most glorify you. Lord, I pray that you'd prick our hearts, move us in the right direction towards you. God, that you lead us to a path of prayer and a path of righteousness, Lord, before you. I pray you bless our breath and our wind and our ability to preach tonight, our voice. Give us an opportunity to express your goodness and mercy. Lord, I pray you preach us in the unction of the Holy Spirit. Lord, in the way I feel this inside of me, I pray that you'd help me to express it in the same like manner. Lord, I pray not selfishly for myself, but every pastor, preacher, teacher, missionary, and evangelist standing tonight, breaking the bread of life, that somebody, somewhere would come to know you as Savior. We'd ask and believe and trust and hope in you in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. You may be seated. I want to share with you tonight in the series on this, mountaintops and valleys. As you see behind us, this is the mountain of prayer. I want you to notice that in the beginning of our reading in verse number 30, and again there in verse number 42, we find the prophet Elijah taking time out to pray. What I want to express to you tonight is going to come from those two verses, and the emphasis of all we're going to say surrounds this tonight. This is a mountain of prayer. I want to challenge you today to find you a place in your home somewhere. If you don't have one already, find you a place that you can call Mount Carmel a place of prayer. Whether it be in a closet, whether it be in another bedroom or your own bedroom, whatever, wherever it may be, it is essential for a saint of God to have a place to go to find time with the Lord. Amen. Amen. I can't encourage you enough to be doing that and seeking that. And again, it will be well pleasing to you. So this epic scene, or this epic battle, takes place here on Mount Carmel. In the middle of a severe drought. If you read back into chapter number 17, you'll find out there's a major famine in the land for rain. And as you read through there, you'll see, as we lead up to this process, there's a great wonder about why Elijah would take the time to call upon all this water in such a severe drought. Normally this scene of Mount Carmel is just lathered with green. The history of what I can find about Mount Carmel there is that it is a wonderful place of pine trees all around the summit of it, and as you come down to the bottom of the foothills, it is layered with various olive trees, and just giving it a wonderful beauty of color. But in this particular time, they're in a severe drought. I wonder if we could look around and we can take our time in our mind's eye and go back and wonder when this country was just flourishing green with the Spirit of God in us, and how we as a society were leaning towards the things of God, and how we are now in such a severe spiritual drought. Amen. Amen. So there was a time that this wonderful place, Mount Carmel, was a place of beauty to behold. At the very top of the Mount Carmel, you could see an array there's different interpretations of it, that you could see about 12 miles out into the foothills and along the coastlines of this area. What you can find is at the bottom of it is the Kishon River, which we read to you in one of the verses. I can't remember, I think it was verse 40 or 39, somewhere around there, where we mentioned the Kishon River. But what had taken place was along the way down, there were wonderful crystal rivers that came down off of this mountain and all ended up down in the Kishon. Now, all that being said, there is a severe drought in the land. And just the example that Elijah is giving to us to use the amount of water that he did is just unthinkable at this time and age that they're going through. When we think about that, I want you to also think about the fact that God is using something here metaphorically for them to see how he can respond if we're willing to give of the most essential things of our lives for the glory of God. Amen goes right there. If you're willing to give something up for the glory of God, I believe God will show up in a way that you've never seen him show up before. And we can see that taking place here in this chapter. So I want to share with you tonight on the Mountaintop and Valley series, week 1, the Mountain of Prayer. Miss Vicki, let's go to point number 1. Let's get right into this. I want you to see tonight, as we look a little bit further, about point number 1, the power of prayer fixes what is broken. The power of prayer fixes what is broken. You got to see that through verse 30 and through verse 35. I'm not going to read back all the way through there, but I just want you to notice some things along the way in verse 30. Elijah said unto them, and all the people, come near to me, and all the people came near to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. Now, once that was established, then and only then did Elijah continue to go forward. Now let's look a little bit further. Ms. Vicki, give us A, B, and C here. I want you to see some things now. As you look at these on the board behind us, I want you to think about a puzzle. My mom, she loves to work puzzles, and she's every day she sits around her table, and she's got a little board that she puts down on the table, and she works puzzles every single day. Every once in a while, we get to go over and spend some time with her, and in that time, I find myself just sucked into these puzzles. First off, I want to see what the finished product's going to be, so it always takes me I just don't want to look at the box, I want to look at the beauty of the puzzle itself. And more that we've been going over there, my mom has been getting those puzzles that are more and more difficult to put together, especially for someone like me who struggles with blues and greens and purples when they're all mixed together. So when I think about that, this made me think about this section of text where we are right now. The power of prayer fixes what is broken is point number one. If we take that puzzle complete now, and we try to move it from that board, remove it whole from that board, it's essentially going to crumble in our hands. Am I right about that? This puzzle is going to begin to fall apart in our hands if we try to remove it from that board. There are some puzzles that my mom has put together that have literally been beautiful. The scenery, the housing, and the rivers and stuff that are there. I've asked her on numerous occasions, Mom, would you like for me to get you some glue? We'll pour it over there to seal it all together, and we'll make this a picture on your wall somewhere here in the house. She don't want to be bothered with that, but she invites the idea, she likes it, and she understands it. Now, that being said about the puzzles, if Elijah goes from verse 30, and does not repair what is broken, and begins to go to the top of Mount Carmel without the spirit of prayer in him, I can tell you this much. When he got to the top of the mountain, it would have crumbled. Amen. It would have fell apart. It would not have held together real well without him first seeking the Lord in prayer. Can I tell you and I this evening the very same thing? If we start out in the battle, we get into the working of the spiritual warfare of life. If we get into that and we're not going into that with the spirit of prayer, we too will crumble just like that puzzle. But I need you to see this about Elijah. He doesn't go anywhere without first fixing what is broken. This is essential to us now. So rest assured, if you plan to win the battle that's set before you, you must enter that in the power of prayer. I love getting texts during the week, and I'm never really bothered by them. A lot of people say, well, I'm sorry to bother you, preacher, whatever. It's never a bother to me. But every once in a while, you get that one text, somebody comes through, preacher, I need to tell you something. I must praise the Lord for what he's been doing. We've been praying, and God is moving. Not only do I understand the excitement on their side, but it begins to excite me on my side about what they've been praying over. Amen? So when I see that, it just stirs me up a little bit further. So I want you to see now, in our A, B, and C, don't wait until you're in the middle of the battle to begin to pray. By that time, it might be just a little too late. Amen? You might be in the losing side of it more than you are on the winning side. I need you to understand that before he went anywhere in this battle, before he climbed that hill to Mount Carmel, he took time to repair what was broken in verse number 30. What was broken in verse number 30? The altar of God, where he literally was going to meet with God. Can I challenge you today to be prepared before you get into the battle? Be prayed up, get encouraged up in the spirit and the power and the anointing of the Holy Spirit before you ever begin to make that climb. If you will take the time to do that here before you get over there, the victory will be a lot sweeter when you get there. Amen? And by the way, prayer changes things. And I'm telling you that truth because all of you already know. Prayer changes things. How many of you prayed for this preacher to be your pastor? Changes things, don't it? My mind was going to Carolina. Here we are, a year and a half later, pastor of First Baptist Church. Prayer changes things. When we see Elijah getting his prayer time right before he went into battle, the victory was sweet when he got to the other side. I need you to understand that without a shadow of a doubt. Don't wait until you're in the middle of the battle to begin to pray, because prayer will change the outcome of the battle. Amen. and changes things. Let her be now. He had to fix some things along the way up. Notice that now. He never came back down off the mountain to get the things he needed for the battle that was ahead of him. Notice that now in verse number 31. And Elijah took 12 stones according to the number of tribes of the son of Jacob, unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be thy name. And then he said he took those 12 stones and 32, and he built an altar in the name of the Lord. Now I need you to understand that. He didn't remove himself from the situation. He just got deeper down in the situation. When you see what Elijah's going through, he not only got prayed up before he went into the battle, but he had to fix some things up on his way up to the battle. I need to show you some things here. He understood in verse number 30 that there was a need to be fixed. Not only did that, he was willing to fix what was broken. So many times we're willing to look at situations and say, oh man, I don't know if I can get involved in that. I don't know if I can get that. And even my brother-in-law yesterday, he says, Terry, there's just something about you. You got a willingness to try it. Yeah, I've got a willingness to try it. I never went to trade school. I never worked in a carpenter's shop. I never worked in a mechanic's shop. But I've got a willing to go ahead and try it. And if I can't fix it, then if I have to, and I don't want to, and I really don't like to, I have to pay somebody to come and do it. But I'm willing to get in there and try and do something to try to fix the problem. That always, for me, doesn't come out to be the right outcome. I'm still working on my brake lines on my 1993 Cadillac for the last 4 months. It doesn't always work out the way I want to. It's been a lot of prayer. A lot of challenges. Because I just want to shoot the car. I just want to go in the house, get the 12 gauge, come out, and light it up. I want to. A lot of prayer has to go in and say, you don't need to do that. But I'm praying for a resolution about that car. You know what the resolution is? The Lord told me the other day, just get rid of it. I don't want to get rid of it. It was my dad's car. It's got sentimental value to me. I don't want to get it. He said, get rid of the car. That solves the problem. I said, yay, Lord, we'll get rid of the car. You know what I got to do this week? I got to get rid of the car. It's only going to settle my mind when I listen to the will of God. He understood in this category, this section here, the only way to begin to go further was you had to fix some things before he could get there. Now here's the third thing I want you to see. He only, not only did he pray up, not only did he fix some things up, but look with me on the letter C. Sometimes you yourself have to bring something to fix the problem. A lot of times we want to call somebody in to bring something. A lot of times we want to pay somebody to do something. But every once in a while, God's moving on your life and having you to do something directly to meet your need. And that's some of the hardest thing to do. Lord, I don't want to do that. Lord, I don't want to get rid of the car. Lord, I don't want to do this. Lord, I don't want to do that. But sometimes you yourself are going to have to bring something to fix the problem. I noticed that when we have work day, we got every tool in the world upstairs in that shop. Every tool you ever need is up there. But every single Tuesday that James shows up, he opens the hatch of his pickup and he pulls out more tools that we might need. Sometimes, I'm telling you, church, you're going to have to bring something of your very own to fix the problem. Amen? Look with me now a little bit deeper on this. That means it will cost you something from time to time. And that's where we come into the problem area. We don't want to do it because it's not pertinent enough for us to pay for it. But I can tell you, if you give it up your own self, it'll go further than if you tried to hold on to it. A little bit further. And you may have to only be fixing it by yourself. Look with me in verse 32. He says here, and he put the wood. Who's doing the work? Who's doing the praying? Who's doing the gathering? Who's doing the sacrifice? Who's doing all the layouts? It's the prophet Elijah. He wasn't just doing this, listen to me now, he wasn't just doing this on behalf of Elijah. He was doing this on behalf of the nation of Israel that was going into battle against Baal. He was not only working alone and by himself, and it costed him something, but he knew the outcome had a greater outcome than it would if he would have done nothing by himself. Amen? Sometimes it's going to cost you something, and sometimes you're going to have to work at it alone. But can I tell you, point number one, prayer fixes what is broken. What's broken in this country? Just about everything. Because we've forgotten about prayer. We've taken it out of the schools and taken everything else out of the schools, and we've inserted other things in the schools, and it hasn't gotten better, by the way. So when we wonder why this country and world is in the situation it is, what have we removed? I'm asking you guys personally, what have you seen you can begin to do is to start to pray? He didn't get to the point of being at the base of Mount Carmel and say, Lord, I think I better be get ready to pray. I'm saying that Saturday night, he didn't start praying for church tomorrow. He left Sunday, he got ready Monday. When I leave church on Sunday, I start thinking about Wednesday. When I leave church on Wednesday, my mind's running into Sunday. I want to be here and I want to be prepared. I want to stand before the Lord ready to go and just be in prayer for him that I'll be doing the right thing at the right time. Amen? Now listen, I need to know he prepared these things to fix the broken. Number 2, Miss Vicki, let's look at that. Oh, I think the prayer is essential. Number 2, the power of prayer fills our emptiness. Not only did it fix the broken things of Elijah there in these first few verses, not only did that happen, but I need you to notice here, it fills our emptiness. Look with me in verse number 37. That's the emphasis here, but 31 through 39 is the text. In verse 37, he cries out to God in prayer. He said, "O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God." He didn't say, Lord, let them see me. Lord, allow them to see the altar I built. Lord, allow them to see the sacrifice I gave to supply the need for the altar. God, don't just show up in a good way, but Lord, let them see me. He didn't say any of that. He said, Lord, hear me, O Lord, hear me, that this people may know that thou art the Lord God. My friends, what we need to do in any aspect of our lives, no matter what we're doing, we need to be glorifying God and allowing him to be seen, he to be out front, and us in the background, because it's all about him anyway. Amen? I need you to see what Elijah is expressing to them in 37 at the end there. He said, that thou hast turned their hearts back again. It's God doing the work. Elijah wasn't doing anything. He was the vessel God was using to accomplish the work that's being done. Here's what I want you to see about number 2. Prayer fills our emptiness. Let's go to Miss A, B, and C here. Quickly, I'm going to move fast and show you these things. In letter A, I want you to see, when we are in a drought, God always does the filling. God always does the filling. Why do churches have revival? The mindset of that is that we've come into a lull. We've just been going through the motions of service. We're just kind of going through the routines of the day-to-day things of church. And when it's your pastor and he's looking out at you and he's receiving things back from you, he needs to understand that God is saying, is there time for a revival? Somebody comes in, fresh new voice, and speaks to our hearts in ways that the pastor hasn't told that person about. And he comes over and he preaches and it's refreshing to us. And we all leave here what? Filled because of what God has done in and through the preacher. So what I want you to see in letter A, when we are in a drought, God always does the filling. Now I need you to notice this. If we look in the previous verses, Elijah grabs hold of the stones. He grabs the wood and the altar, and he digs out the trenches. He gets the bullock together. But who gives the increase of it all? God fills it all. Look at me, letter B now. Sometimes we need to help others bring in the supplies. In this particular story, we see that Elijah's all by himself. He's working alone, but sometimes when you see there's a need across the aisle, you got to get up sometimes, and you too got to go get the water. Sometimes you got to get up and go get the wood. Sometimes you got to get up and help dig a trench. Sometimes you're going to have to get down in there and get dirty with one another, just so that God's will and God's things can be done in the sight of a lost and dying world. Amen. So sometimes we got to get in and get involved. Look with me in verse 32 about that. So then with the stones, he built an altar. But he did it in the name of the Lord. Look at that. And he made a trench about the altar, and great as would contain 2 measures of seed. That talks about how deep and how wide that trench was. It wasn't just a little, he didn't take a shovel and just make a little scratch around the dirt. It cost him something. Sometimes, church, I need you to understand, it's not just you singular doing something. Somebody here can help you in your fight. Somebody here, this was a battle. Somebody here can help you in the middle of your battle. Somebody here can do something. If we're willing to look past ourselves and realize that it may be us that needs to bring the water. It may be us that needs to gather up the barrels and also build the things and bring the wood. It may be you this evening, church, that has to be that person. But you have to be willing to allow God to use you for his glory. sometimes we must be willing to help. Then letter C, I want you to see, when we do everything right, when we realize we're in a drought, and when we start to help one another out, look at what letter C says. What happens there? My cup runs over. These trenches that were built, it didn't just fill them with water and just leave them there. There was so much water being expended in the middle of the drought that it was overflowing these trenches. Can you understand that now? When God moves in your life, you'll be in such a drought. He moves so powerfully and spiritually in your life, you just can't help but tell somebody about it. I tell you to tell on myself here a few days ago. I was told that already today. I think I'm rounded too much, so I'll tell on myself on this one. A few Tuesdays ago, we were over here working, and I thought I was alone. I was in the back, I was washing my face, and I turned the water off, and all of a sudden I hear voices down the hallway. So I got finished, I put my t-shirt back on, because I thought I was alone, and I hear two voices down the hall, and it was Judy and Susan. So I slip down the hallway, and as I go down there, I realize they don't see me. So the wonderful, loving, compassionate pastor that I am, I took full advantage of the opportunity to scare both of them really good. So in doing so, Judy shouted really good, and she got spiritual, brought her hands up, and hallelujah, all that stuff happened. So as I was leaving the sound booth with Vicky, I came around the other side, and her mind and her eyes was watching what James was doing, and she didn't even see me slipping behind her. And I could have scared her again. I just stood there. And she turned around and she came to me. I said, I just wanted you to know I could have scared you real good, but I didn't want you to shout, not in the spirit. Now, I'm going somewhere with that. I need you to see this. My cup runneth over. I did tell her, if you're going to shout, I don't mind it if it is in the spirit, but if it's not, we don't want to hear it. Amen, church. Now, I'm telling you this part of it. This section of the text is telling us my cup runneth over. When God fills it, you can't help but shout about it. Amen. You can't help but tell somebody about it. You can't help but raise your hand. You can't help but send a preacher a text. You can't help but tell somebody down the road. You can't help it but express that God has overrun your cup. Amen. I like it. I'll get my voice back. We might be here a little bit. Hallelujah. Amen. By the way, there are 4 points, not 3. Number 3, Miss Vicki, let's look at that. My cup runs over when the Lord fills it. I love letter C. That's sweet to me. Number 3, the power of prayer, here's what I like, finishes our foes. Wouldn't you just love to be saying, Lord, get them, Lord. Amen. Lord, just get them. Sick of God. Just get over and just take care of it, God. That's exactly what happened here. It only happened because of the progression of preparation. Right. He took care of the altar, the things that were broken, he fixed. Before you can ever see victory in our lives, I'm telling you, you've got to get things fixed up. When we ask you to come to the altar and end the service, it's not just for you to come down here, it's to get things fixed. And when you get things fixed, then you can start seeing the emptiness in your life begin to get filled by the power and the presence of God. And in doing so, you get to see your foes get finished. Aren't you glad of that? I'm loving this passage, and the further it goes, the better it gets. Look with me now. They see A and B. I only got 2 on this one, and I want you to see A and B now on this one. They fall at his feet in verse 40. I flipped those 2 verses because I need you to see the essential part of this. When you get fixed right, and when you get filled right, your foes cannot help but fall at the feet of Jesus. Listen, because if you're fixed right and you're filled right, they have nothing to attack you with. Their fight is completely gone. It's over. It's done. It's finished. All they have to do is fall at the feet of Jesus. Amen? Well, I love that. I don't know about you, but that put me on shout ground this week. I understand that it's not me they're fighting against. It's not you that they're fighting against. It's the enemies of God who are rising up against you. They have to fall at the feet of Jesus. Well, I love that text. Let's look at the verse number 40. He said, and Elijah said, unto them, take the prophets of Baal, let none of them escape. And they took them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and slew them there. That's telling me that prayer finishes off our foes. When I'm prayed up and fixed right, I'm prayed up and filled right, then the power of the prayer that I have over my enemies, God takes care of them. Amen? control. I'm glad to know He's in full control. It doesn't seem like it at times. Your enemies rage, and the voices of your enemies begin to be so strong and so powerful, you start to think you're defeated. You start to feel beat up. You start to feel like you're going to lose. But blessed be the name of God. We're on the winning side of this, and He's got everything in control. Amen. I love that passage. So they fall at His feet. And then let's flip the verse down. Look at verse 30. He said in 39, and when all the people saw it, when they saw God answered by fire and everything be taken care of, verse 39, and when He fell, all the people saw it, and they fell on their faces, and they said, the Lord, He is the God. The Lord, He is the God. Elijah didn't have to proclaim Him. The men that might have been with Elijah didn't have to proclaim Him. They understood the only way this could possibly happen in the severity of this drought and all the water that's there is it had to be God. There's just times in your Christian life you're just going to shake your head and say, I don't understand how that happened. It must be a God thing. Have you ever been there? I've stood there many times. Lord, I don't understand it, but here it is again. You took care of it one more time. It's a God thing. I didn't have to tell anybody about it. It's God that moved on in our lives. Years ago, I drove a truck for, we subcontracted for General Motors, and we delivered to all the dealerships. I used to run out here every day. And I got acquainted with this guy named Glenn. Syverson is his last name. He worked for another company, and he, for whatever reason, he ended up working for us a little while. And for some reason or another, this guy's about 15 years older than I am, and we just kind of clicked. We got together. Then that place closed, and I went to the Union Hall, and they just sent me to another place. Just a little clarity here, for about 2.5 years, I drove a liquor truck, and I delivered liquor. And you know who came over? Glenn. After I left there, I got convicted of all that mess. I got out of there. And then I went ahead and started driving somewhere else. I talked to Glenn a little bit later after that. He said, hey man, where are you at now? I told him where I was working at. I believe it was K&R back then, but I said, I'm over here now. He said, there's something about you, Jerry. I said, what's that, Glenn? He said, every time this world punches you, you always land on your feet. I said, Glenn, that's God doing that, not Jerry. Every time something goes wrong, I lose the job financially, something would go down, I never give up the fight, I wouldn't get long in the mouth, I wouldn't cry about it, I just take my petition to the Lord, and every single time I landed on my feet. Now here's what I want you to notice. Not that I have to proclaim that, I didn't tell anybody about that at the new job. The people of the world noticed what God was doing, and they had to proclaim that. This is exactly what took place in this story for Elijah. They saw God moving in behalf of Elijah, and they said, He is God. I need you to see this now. The prayer, finishing the foes, notice what happened. Elijah never had to fight. He didn't physically get involved with these men. He prayed right. He fixed the right things. He got filled up right. He sacrificed the right things. He made preparations of the right things. And in doing so, God showed up at the right time. And when that happens, the world can't do nothing but say, God, the Lord is God. The Lord is God. They can't do nothing to dispute it. If you're not in the fight, you're not physically fighting one another, God's answering the prayers, they have to stand back and say, that's a God thing. I'm glad to tell you today, as He did for Elijah, He still does for us today. He shows up in the midst of that battle. And sometimes you don't have to hold your hand up at all and fight. I recall right, there's in 2 Chronicles, chapter number 20, there's people there fighting in the battle, and the Bible is clear to tell us that God answered the prayers for Jehoshaphat and the people. It's willingness to allow God to do the fighting. In this flesh, though, we want to get out in front. But I'm glad He can do it all. All right, let me get to number 4 real quick. Number 4, Mr. Speaker. Let's look at the last one. Prayer fortifies our faith. So prayer fixes our problems. It fills us with the right thing. It finishes our foes. Then it fortifies our faith. Each time that I got laid off or the company closed or whatever the case was, and we moved on from place to place, and every single time I felt that maybe it was within me, or maybe I was the curse of the company. Everyone I went to, they closed or got laid off or something like that. Your mind starts thinking about stuff like that. You're the black cloud. Every time that happened, I landed on my feet. I think because somewhere in there, I never struggled with God's ability. It's not in Jerry. Jerry's limited. God's not limited. And every single time, I landed in the right place at the right time. I'm telling you, I'm not boasting about Jerry, I'm boasting about God. If we're willing to listen to Him and allow Him to lead us in the right places, prayer is going to be fortifying your faith. Every time I went from place to place, I got stronger in the Lord. At first, I got laid off in a company I thought I'd retire from. And I went to another place, and that place closed, and this place closed. And U.S. Foods laid us off, and we went to this place. And somewhere along the way, I started feeling a little bit down. But every time I landed somewhere, I got fortified in my faith. God, you did it again. 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 I've told you time and time again, I've made about $90,000 a year driving a truck. And do you know I make about half of that as your pastor? And I'm living better now. He did it again. He's going to do it again. He's going to do it again. And he's going to do it again. And I believe he's going to do it again. You know what it does? It fortifies my faith. Yes. It fortifies my faith because I'm doing the right thing for the right purpose. It always comes out the right way. Does that make any sense? It's a God thing. It's a God thing. All right, let's look at A and B, Ms. Vicki. What do you know about the prayer, the power of prayer that fortifies our faith? Victory of this fortifying of faith started in verse 30. In verse 30, if he never takes time to repair what is broken, he never sees the victory. But Elijah takes the time to seek out the will of God, and the first thing to do is to repair the things that are broken. And as he does this, look at what happens in A and B. It satisfies my sight. At the first call, in verse 43, 4, and 5, he tells us, as he's there praying, he sends his servant out to go look and give a report of what he's seeing. He comes back and says, I don't see anything. He said, you go there 7 times, and each time you come back and report to me. At the 7th time he comes back and he says one thing. I see a cloud about the size of a man's hand. What is Elijah's response? You better go again. Go another 7 times and take a look. Look out in there. Remember I told you at this point, the summit of this, you can see about 12 miles out over the ocean. You can see about 12 miles down the coastline. I need you to understand what he was seeing was a little tiny small cloud about the size of a man's hand. And Elijah's response is so powerful, it ought to help you to see it and tell you what happens. He sees that taking place, and he says to him, and it came to pass in 44, the 7th time, that he said, behold, there arises a little cloud out of the sea like a man's hand. And he said, Elijah, go up and say unto Ahab, prepare thy chariot, and get thee down, that the rain stop thee not. He didn't say, well, there might be a little drizzle coming. He didn't say there might be a little spring shower happening. He didn't say there might be a little just overcast for a few moments. He said, don't even let the rain stop you. It's going to come down so hard. Get in the chariot and get through there. It's going to come down and rain. I need you to understand that what Elijah's telling this young man is it satisfies his sight. What he might see physically ought to satisfy what we see inside spiritually. We look up and we see only a small cloud of a hand size, and we don't think much of it. But little is much in the sight of God. Amen? There's a lot of things happening on the backside, so much that this man of God tells his servant, you better get ready for the rain. It satisfies my sight. And I want you to see, let it be the last thing here. Not only does it fortify my faith by satisfying my sight, but it also supplies the needed rain. Remember now, there's a severe, severe drought here. This countryside is drying up. All of a sudden, God answers because there was a man willing to fix what was wrong. A man that was willing to be filled by God. A man that was willing to fortify or have his foes defeated. And a man that was fortified of his faith because he first took time to repair broken things. I'm asking you today, are you willing to get started? Prayer is essential in the life of a believer. These mountaintops and valleys, notice where we start out at. We're starting out on a mountaintop. I've told you time and time again, our lives usually don't live on the mountaintops. Our lives don't live in the valley. We're somewhere in between. I believe right here, right now, for Elijah, he's somewhere in the middle. He's about to make that climb to the summit, but before he goes anywhere, he starts to repair himself of the broken things. I want to ask you today, what's broken? What needs fixing? What needs filling and what foes need to be defeated, and what faith of yours needs to be strengthened. It all first starts with you willing to God about some broken things. Can I challenge you, church? Things in my life need fixing. And I know I can't go anywhere until you first fix those things. Can I challenge you to get those right with God today? Don't do it because this preacher's asked you to come and pray. Come and ask the Lord because you know you got broken things in your life. There's broken relationships, there's broken families, there's broken hearts, there's broken things in our lives. It's been so bad, we've been so bad one to another, just flat, ugly one to another, and we need God to fix those broken things. Nobody's going nowhere until that first gets taken care of. He never made another movement until the broken things were fixed. And I'm asking you, would you do that tonight? If you play the song, Sam, if you would. If you need to come tonight,